Let's get to Manchester United, and they're monitoring Stuttgart striker Serhou Guirassy. Sky Germany are reporting the player can leave in January for less than 20 million euros. Right, Kevin, what can you tell us about Serhou Guirassy?
He's been a late bloomer, there's no question about it. He was at Köln in Germany earlier in his career, didn't really work out, didn't score enough goals, didn't quite have that consistency and maybe seriousness that you need to make it at the top level. Went to French football, did well for a struggling Angers team, double figures for them, double figures for Rennes. He's come back to Stuttgart and scored goals ever since. He did it for a poor team at Stuttgart last season. They've been playing much better football this time around. He's been the focal point, scoring lots of goals. He's been so clinical in front of goal for them. And he's been, outside of Harry Kane, probably the best centre-forward in Germany this season.
And what about Manchester United then? Out of Europe, struggling for form, lengthy injury list. I know you were working at the game on Tuesday night against Bayern Munich. Did they look like a team that really needs strengthening?
I think he's somebody that could go in and do a job for them, but it comes back to the same issues with Manchester United. Are they creating enough chances? Is the structure right? Because you look at the game against Bayern, it's a team that doesn't seem to have a cohesive plan with the ball at times. You know, they're not really taking control of the middle of the pitch. They're not really carving teams open. So you can put Guirassy in there and that's fine, but if he doesn't get the ball and he's somebody who does rely on service, is it going to really work? And are you going to bring in another guy who's going to underperform because the team's not really performing right now?
And what about Jadon Sancho? We were speaking to Florian Plettenberg earlier, who says a return to Germany does not look likely. He doesn't go back to Germany. Where else could he go?
Yeah, it's a really sad situation. You know, he's a joyful player when he's playing well. Commentated on him many, many times in the Bundesliga. He was absolutely outstanding at times for Dortmund, not just scoring goals, but making goals, making the whole team tick. I'm a little surprised that Dortmund have kind of stepped away from that. They don't need him, but I think he could have been somebody who could have really sparked them. There was talk of a swap deal potentially for Donyell Malen at one stage. And I think he just needs to play. And he just needs somebody who's going to kind of build the team around him to some extent. And I do think it's a bit of a shame the way it's gone.
What about Raphael Varane then? What a situation that is. Four-time Champions League winner, World Cup winner, and he cannot get into this Manchester United team. And The Athletic also reporting that his contract expires this summer. And previously it was reported that it expires next summer. Do you think he's definitely set to leave the club?
It's a strange situation with Varane at the moment. You know, you look at the face of it, he's Manchester United's best centre-half, but he's only started 4 Premier League games. This season has suffered with injuries at times since he joined the club, but I think Manchester United would be an infinitely better side if it was Varane and Martinez who are playing. Martinez, unfortunately, also injured at the moment, and maybe that's something to do with why Ten Hag can't play the way he wants to play, perhaps. So, there is an option for Manchester United to extend the contract by a year, according to The Athletic, so that's something that they may do. That's something we've seen them do in the past with the likes of Lingard and Pogba. That protects Manchester United in terms of losing him for a free. But there's something that just doesn't seem right with that situation at the moment, because Raphael Varane has won absolutely everything pretty much there is to win in football. Manchester United are struggling, yet Rafa Varane can't get a game, and sometimes it's Leicester City's partnership from 5 years ago that are playing. So it's an odd situation with Varane, one that needs to get sorted. He doesn't look happy, but we've seen Manchester United's been a graveyard for players for a number of years now, and it looks like Varane's going to be added to that list.
I think the thing that's worth bearing in mind with him, this is a guy that was first choice for one of the biggest clubs in the world for a long, long time, winning Champions Leagues, a major part of their success. To then be told for the first time in a long time, you're probably third choice, fourth choice, you're not in my thinking for that starting 11. It's a jarring thing for a player, even with his experience, to deal with. So how do you bounce back from that, really?
Knowing other clubs would want you so much as well, surely.
So it's a really strange situation because, you know, if you've been at that level for so long, it's hard as a guy not to think, well, I'm kind of helping you to some extent, and if you don't want my help, that's fine. I'll move on to somebody who does, because I do think if he can stay fit, and that's the big question, there's a terrific footballer in there.
That's what I think. I think it's the injuries. If he was able to stay consistent, I don't think Ten Hag would question him. But at the start of the season, it was very clear that he wanted to start a centre-back pairing of Martinez and Varane, but both of them got injured. And then when Varane did come back, he got injured again. And it's like, OK, maybe I have to start thinking without you, because when I do, it gives me a headache of other players like Maguire, who's been raring to go. You know, Evans, who's still able. We've seen him at United. Yes, he's mid-30s, but at the same time, he's still got that quality. So I think Varane's obviously frustrated because to himself he thinks that he's ready. But
or when he sees Luke Shaw being brought in to play centre back.
Exactly, but he plays that position really well. Like Luke Shaw has done that position, and Ten Hag trusts him. And I think there's miscommunication maybe because he said that he doesn't want Varane playing on the left-hand side, but then when he did come in, he did play on the left-hand side. So it's difficult, but I can understand why his inconsistencies in terms of his injuries has affected his decision-making for him.
Kev, speaking of frustrated players, what about Donny van der Beek? Where do you think he could go?
So he's been linked with the move to Eintracht Frankfurt on loan. I think they'd have to sort out the division of wages because I don't think Frankfurt would be willing to pay the whole of his wage packet. And he's somebody that even if he did go to Frankfurt would have to fight for his place because they've got some really good attacking midfield players, guys like Mario Götze, Fares Shabi, who played brilliantly against Bayern at the weekend in a 5-1 win. So, you know, it might be out of the frying pan and into the fire to some extent. He needs to go somewhere where he's going to play pretty much every game.
Right, well, next up for Manchester United, it is the big one against Liverpool, and it is live on Sky Sports Premier League, and main event coverage starts at 4 p.m.